feels like a real conversation, a layered one, a conversation with pauses, looks, hesitation, and some very loaded emotions under the surface. These two men are not discussing you because they are bored. They are discussing you because your energy has stirred something up, and now neither one of them can fully ignore it. The first card I'm seeing here is the Two of Wands, and wow, this tells me they are standing at a crossroads where you are concerned. This conversation feels like it is happening because something about you has forced both of them to think ahead. One of them seems more strategic, more measured, more focused on consequences. The other feels more emotionally reactive, like he is trying to play it cool, but your name changes the whole tone in him. So right away, I'm getting two different responses to you because one of the shocking things here is that both of them are affected by you in completely different ways. The next card I'm seeing is the King of Swords. And this feels like one of the men strongly. He may be the one leading the conversation at first, the one trying to analyze things, the one asking the questions, cutting through emotions, trying to make sense of why you have had such a strong impact. This man may speak in a controlled way, but underneath that control, I do not feel calm. I feel intensity. Then right beside that, I'm seeing the Knight of Cups. And oh my gosh, this feels like the second man, and this one is more emotionally involved than he wants people to know. He may not say everything directly at first, but Spirit is showing me that his feelings come through in his pauses, his tone, the way he defends you, the way he goes quiet when your name comes up. This feels like someone who has been trying to manage his emotions, maybe even hide them, but in this discussion, they start leaking through. So what are they saying? The first thing I'm hearing is there's something different about her that keeps repeating strongly. One of them seems to be saying that you are not easy to read, but not because you are playing games, more because you have depth, presence. A kind of gravity, the other one seems to agree, but I feel his agreement is much more personal. Like for him, it is not only that you are different, it is that you got to him. The next card I'm seeing is the Page of Swords. And yes, this tells me they have both been observing you, watching how you move, watching how you speak, watching how you handle things. One of them may be more obvious in his attention. The other much quieter, but both of them have been mentally tracking you more than you probably realize. This is not random curiosity anymore. This feels like analysis mixed with attraction, and maybe even a little concern, because here is another thing I'm hearing in this discussion. She has no idea. Wow, that sentence comes through strongly. And what that means is I feel at least one of them believes you do not know how much attention you are getting or how deeply you have affected the situation. Now, the next card I'm seeing is the Five of Wands. And this is interesting because it tells me there may be tension between these two men about you, not necessarily open war. Not yet, but definitely friction, strong differences in perspective. One man may be trying to stay detached and practical. The other may be more pulled in emotionally. Either way, you are the center of a conversation that is not neutral at all. I'm also getting that one of them may be warning the other. That is a strong message, almost like be careful with her. Be careful with her, be careful around this. Be careful because this is becoming more serious than you think. And I do not feel that warning is because you are bad or dangerous in a negative way. I feel it is because your energy is powerful, disarming, memorable. You make people feel more than they expected to feel. And one of these men knows that the final card I'm seeing here is the Moon. And this tells me there is still a lot unsaid in this discussion. Hidden motives. Hidden attraction, hidden fear. They are not laying every card on the table yet, but the emotional charge is already there. So the biggest message for this first part is this: two men are in deep discussion about you, and what they are saying reveals that you have deeply affected both of them. One mentally, one emotionally, or perhaps both in different degrees. They are talking about how different you are, how hard you are to forget, and how serious this may become. And the shocking part is that your energy is causing far more tension, curiosity, and emotional exposure than you probably realize. The next thing coming through here is that this conversation gets a lot more personal than either of them planned, because what starts as observation quickly turns into confession, comparison, and a surprising amount of emotional tension. I do not feel both of these men are speaking from the same place. One is trying to stay composed, logical, maybe even a little guarded. The other feels more exposed, more emotionally stirred, more likely to reveal too much just by the way he reacts when your name comes up. The first card I'm seeing here is the Lovers. And wow, this is a big deal because this tells me the conversation is not only about who you are, it is also about what you make them feel. There is attraction here. Yes, but more than that, there is significance. One of these men is saying in his own way that you are not easy to brush off. You have become meaningful to him. He may not use dramatic words, but spirit is showing me that the weight is there, the feeling is there, the pull is there. Then right beside that, I'm seeing the Four of Pentacles. So one of the shocking things they are saying about you is that you make one of them want to hold on. Hold back and hold on at the same time. This feels like a man who has become protective over his feelings where you are concerned. He may be guarding his heart, guarding his thoughts, guarding what he truly wants to admit, but the fact that he is guarding it means it matters. A lot. I'm also hearing one of them say something like, "She gets in your head." That line comes through very clearly. And the response feels interesting because I do not think the second man fully denies it. I feel more like he tries to downplay it, explain it, intellectualize it, but underneath all that, the truth is obvious. You are in his head. You linger, he replays things, he notices details. He may think about your words after the conversation ends. He may think about your energy long after you are gone. And the other man sees that, he knows it. The next card I'm seeing is the Nine of Cups. And this tells me one of these men is talking about you like you are ideal, maybe not perfect, because I do not feel this is shallow pedestal energy, but deeply desirable, like you represent something they truly want. One of them may be admitting, either directly or indirectly, that being around you feels good in a way that surprises him, comforting, exciting, inspiring. It is like your energy gives him something he has been missing, and that realization is part of why this discussion is becoming so intense. Then we have the Three of Swords, and this is where the conversation gets heavy. Because I do feel there is pain or fear mixed into what they are saying. Maybe one of them worries he waited too long. Maybe one of them thinks the situation is complicated. Maybe there is a concern that feelings are growing where they should have stayed simple. But either way, you are not being discussed lightly. There is vulnerability in this conversation. A real one. One of these men seems almost frustrated by how much you matter. I'm also seeing the Hermit, which tells me one of them has been doing a lot of private thinking about you, quiet thinking, deep thinking, maybe even trying to understand why this has affected him the way it has. So another shocking thing they are saying is not only that you are attractive or unforgettable, but that you have caused real introspection, real self-reflection. One of these men feels changed by knowing you, even if the change is still unfolding. And here is another phrase I keep hearing. She's not what I expected. That feels very important because it tells me there is something about you that went beyond surface assumptions. One or both of these men thought they understood you at first, and then something deeper revealed itself. Maybe your intelligence, maybe your softness, maybe your restraint, maybe the way you carry power without needing to announce it. But whatever it is, they are both acknowledging that you surprised them. The final card I'm seeing here is Temperance, and this says the conversation is also about timing, balance, and what to do next. So the biggest message in this second part is these two men are talking about how deeply you have gotten into one man's heart and mind, how unexpected your impact has been, and how difficult it is becoming to stay emotionally neutral around you. What they are saying is shocking because it is much more vulnerable, much more honest, and much more serious than you would probably ever guess. And beneath everything, there is this strange agreement between them that you are not ordinary. You shifted the temperature of the room. And now both of them are trying to understand why your energy feels impossible to dismiss. so much. What is coming through very strongly now is that this conversation has moved beyond curiosity and into revelation, because at least one of these men is no longer pretending that what he feels about you is simple. No, this feels like a moment where the deeper truth starts slipping out, maybe not in one dramatic sentence right away, but in pieces, in pauses, in the way his voice changes, in the way the other man looks at him and realizes, oh, this has gone much further than he admitted before. The first card I'm seeing here is the King of Cups. And wow, this tells me one of these men has much deeper emotions for you than he has been showing. This is someone who may look composed on the outside, maybe even controlled, mature, hard to read, but inside there is a lot going on. Feeling, reflection, longing, respect, care, and what they are saying in this discussion is not just that you are attractive or interesting. It is that you matter emotionally. That is one of the shocks here, because I keep hearing one of them say something like, it's not just attraction, and the room changes after that. The energy changes after that. Because once those words are felt, even if they are not said exactly that way, everything becomes more serious. The other man seems to realize that this is no longer a light situation. This is not a passing fixation. This is not casual chemistry. This is emotional investment. Then right beside that, I'm seeing the Seven of Pentacles. So yes, a big part of what they are discussing is time, waiting, watching. Wondering whether anything can grow here or whether something important is being left untouched for too long. I feel one of these men is saying in his own way that he has already invested more thought, emotion, and attention into you than he meant to, and now he is at a point where he cannot deny that anymore. I'm also hearing a very strong phrase here. She stays with you. That line is so clear. And the reason it matters is because it tells me your energy lingers, your words linger, your presence lingers. One of these men is admitting that after the interaction ends, it does not really end for him. He keeps thinking about it, replaying, interpreting, feeling. And the second man is very aware of that. He may even be the one pushing him to finally admit how deep this has gotten. The next card I'm seeing is the Hanged Man. And this tells me the conversation is also about delay, why nothing has been fully said yet, why someone has been holding back, why this has stayed suspended instead of moving clearly forward. And I do feel one of these men is frustrated by that. Either he is frustrated with himself, or the other man is frustrated watching him hesitate. But your name seems to bring up this whole question of how long can someone keep pretending they are unaffected when clearly they are not? Then we have the Six of Cups, and wow, this gives the discussion a very tender layer, because one of these men seems to talk about you with softness, familiarity, warmth, like there is something about you that feels emotionally safe and deeply meaningful at the same time. This is not only desire, this is emotional comfort. The kind of comfort that reaches into the heart and makes someone feel connected in a very real way. I'm also seeing the Five of Swords here. And this tells me there may be internal conflict in the conversation too. Ego, resistance, pride. One man may be trying to act less affected than he is. He may not want to seem vulnerable. He may not want the second man to know just how serious this has become. But I do not think he hides it very well, because the energy around him keeps exposing the truth. And the truth is, you have gotten under his defenses. The final card I'm seeing here is the Ace of Cups. And that is beautiful because it confirms what the shocking truth really is. This discussion is not only about attraction, curiosity, or timing. It is about feelings beginning to open, real feelings. So the biggest message for this third part is this: two men are talking about you, and what is being revealed is that one of them has genuine emotions that have gone far beyond what he first intended. He is admitting directly or indirectly that you stay with him, affect him, and mean more to him than he expected. And the second man hears it, sees it, knows it. That is why this conversation feels so loaded, because once emotional truth enters the room, neither of them can keep treating you like a casual topic anymore. And what shocks me most here is how carefully he tried to hide it before now, but your name keeps opening that locked door. The more they talk, the clearer it gets. This is not fantasy to him anymore. It is feeling, and that truth is sitting between them now, impossible to take back so much. What is coming through here now is that this conversation becomes even more intense because the second man is no longer only listening, he is challenging, he is asking the harder questions, he is pointing out what the first man keeps trying to minimize. And I have to say, this part feels very revealing because what they are saying about you is not shallow at all. It is not just about attraction, chemistry, or surface curiosity. It is about impact. It is about the way your energy has changed the emotional landscape for at least one of these men. Maybe both in different ways. The first card I'm seeing here is the Justice card. And wow, this tells me one of the major things being said in this discussion is that you are fair, clear, and real. One of these men seems to be defending your character very strongly. Almost like he cannot stand the idea of you being misunderstood, reduced, or talked about like you are just another passing fascination. He is saying in his own way that there is substance to you, integrity, a kind of inner balance. And the shocking part is how serious he sounds when he says it. Then right beside that, I'm seeing the Eight of Wands, and this tells me the conversation starts speeding up. Words come faster. Truth comes out faster. There may even be a moment where one of these men says more than he meant to, because once your name opens the emotional current, it becomes harder to keep everything controlled. I feel sudden admissions here, sudden honesty, sudden glances that say more than the actual words. And one of the phrases I keep hearing very strongly is, "You talk about her differently." That feels like something the second man says to the first. And wow, that lands, because it forces him to hear himself. It forces him to notice that yes, his tone changes with you. His eyes change with you. His energy changes with you. The next card I'm seeing is the Four of Wands. And this is beautiful because it tells me part of what they are saying about you is that your energy feels grounding, safe, uplifting. One of these men is talking about you like you are not only captivating, but calming, like you bring a sense of peace he did not expect. And that is one reason this has shocked him so much. Because he may be used to intense attraction, but not necessarily attraction that also feels stabilizing. With you, it is both. I'm also seeing the Queen of Pentacles, and I love this because it tells me they are discussing your value, not in a superficial way, in a real way, the way you carry yourself, the way you make people feel, the way you do not need to demand attention to be noticed. There is a richness to your energy here, a warmth, a natural self-worth. And one of these men seems deeply impressed by that. He may even be saying that you are the kind of person a man could actually build with not just desire for a moment. That is another shocking truth here because this discussion is turning from what is she like into what could she actually mean in someone's life. Then we have the Two of Swords, and this tells me one of these men is still divided, still hesitant, still stuck between admitting the depth of this and trying to keep some emotional distance. So yes, there is conflict here. He knows what he feels is growing. He knows what you mean is becoming harder to dismiss. But part of him is still afraid of what happens if he fully faces it. The second man seems to sense that too. I keep hearing him say something like, "Then stop pretending." Wow, that comes through strongly. Almost like he is tired of watching the first man dance around something obvious. And the obvious thing is this: you matter more than expected, more than intended, more than convenient. And once that truth is spoken, even indirectly, I feel the energy between these two men gets very quiet for a moment. The final card I'm seeing here is the Tower. And that is huge because it tells me this conversation breaks through denial. It shakes something loose. It does not necessarily mean chaos in a bad way, but it does mean a truth can no longer stay comfortably buried. So the biggest message for this fourth part is these two men are talking about how different your energy feels, how deeply one of them respects and values you, and how impossible it is becoming for him to hide that your presence has changed him emotionally. And the shocking part is that the second man sees it all clearly. He hears it in the way your name is spoken. He sees it in what is defended. He feels it in what is avoided, and because of that, this conversation becomes a turning point because after this talk, neither of them can honestly go back to pretending you are a casual subject. You became the truth sitting in the room, and both of them know it now completely, truly. This conversation has shifted into dangerous honesty. Not dangerous in a bad way, but dangerous to denial, to ego, to whatever illusion these two men were trying to keep in place before. Because once truth starts breathing in a room, it changes everything. And that is exactly what I feel here. They are no longer just talking around the subject of you. They are talking about what you have awakened, what you have exposed, and what neither of them can comfortably unfeel anymore. The first card I'm seeing here is the Devil. And wow, this tells me the conversation gets intense fast. One of these men is admitting directly or indirectly that the pull towards you is not light. It is not easy to switch off. It is not something he can simply be rational about. You are under his skin, in his thoughts, in his reactions. And the shocking part is that the second man seems to know it before he fully says it. There is almost this feeling of, finally, there it is, say it. Then right beside that, I'm seeing the Nine of Wands. And this tells me the man who feels more deeply about you has been fighting himself for a while. Fighting what he feels, fighting what it means, fighting how exposed it makes him. He may be tired, guarded, defensive, or still trying to protect himself from how strong this has become. But the other man can see through that now. He can see that the walls are not there because nothing is felt. They are there because too much is felt. And I keep hearing this phrase strongly. You're not protecting yourself anymore, you're hiding. Wow, that feels like something the second man says directly. And that lands hard. Because I do think part of this conversation is about the difference between being careful and being dishonest with yourself. One of these men has reached a point where caution is turning into avoidance, and the other one is calling that out. He is basically saying you cannot keep pretending this is under control.